Easter weekend on BBC One, now the Tea Time News with Rita Chakrabarti.
Today, the Pope, who's been severely ill with pneumonia, delivers an Easter message to crowds at the Vatican.
Cari fratelli e sorelle.
His voice betrayed his frailty, but those gathered expressed their warmth and appreciation. Good afternoon. Pope Francis has greeted a crowd of tens of thousands at the traditional Easter Sunday Mass at St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican. The head of the Catholic Church, who's 88, spoke briefly and also made a surprise appearance in his Pope-mobile. It's almost a month since he left hospital after being seriously ill with double pneumonia. Earlier, the Pope held a private meeting with the US Vice President J.D. Vance, who's a convert to Catholicism. Rupert Wingfield-Hayes reports.
In Rome, Easter is the greatest and grandest of Christian festivals. Its high point, the Easter morning Mass in St. Peter's Square, often attended by hundreds of thousands of faithful. But this year, the run-up to Easter has been filled with anxiety and concern for the health of Pope Francis. The tens of thousands who gathered here this morning were really all waiting to see if Pope Francis would come out to bless the crowd. They were not disappointed. But still looking very frail from his illness, Pope Francis struggled to deliver even this short Easter message.
Cari fratelli e sorelle, buona Pasqua.
Brothers and sisters, he said, happy Easter.
So good to see you.
Pope Francis had, in fact, just come from meeting the US Vice President, J.D. Vance. There had been much speculation that this meeting might not take place, given the Pope's very public criticism of President Trump and his immigration policies. But as Pope Francis now headed out into the square in his Pope-mobile, the only thing people here cared about was the progress of his recovery.
Well, you can feel the excitement here in St. Peter's Square, but also the relief that Pope Francis has been able to come out and meet the faithful at Easter. Pope Francis has been extremely unwell. There were points a month ago when he was in hospital that there were real fears for his life. He clearly is now recovering. He was able to say a few words to people here today, but he's also clearly very, very weak still.
I felt so happy because we've been knowing that he was not well. We didn't expect him to come out. So it was like a surprise, and it really felt good to see him out. That means he's actually getting better.
I feel very touched, because he's so sick. And yet, wholeheartedly for the people, not only for the people of God, the church, but also for all those who are suffering.
His doctors have repeatedly told him he needs more time to rest and recover. But Pope Francis clearly believes being with his flock is more important. Rupert Wingfield-Hayes, BBC News, in Rome.
Well, here the Easter sermon, traditionally given by the Archbishop of Canterbury, has been delivered by the Archbishop of York. It follows Justin Welby's resignation over his handling of the case of a prolific child sex abuser linked to the church. Meanwhile, as Tom Simons reports, the King and Queen have joined other members of the royal family for the traditional Easter service at St George's Chapel in Windsor.
It's a firm fixture of the royal calendar, and the King and Queen arrived at St George's Chapel, their local church, accompanied by other family members. There was a rare sighting of Prince Andrew, no longer an active royal because of his links to the sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, but not, it seems, estranged from the family. This was a private service, just a small group of well-wishers allowed into the castle grounds. They were rewarded by a brief, close encounter with the King and Queen, Camilla leading the way.
We were absolutely thrilled. We are so happy to see that the King is looking so well, and the Queen as well, and to see the entire family. It was a dream of a lifetime.
He's looking a lot better than he was this time last year, I think. But I think she just backs him so well.
Well, that very brief meet and greet took place inside the grounds of Windsor Castle. Most of the public didn't see the King here today, but he is back doing royal duties after a brief spell in hospital following treatment for side effects which have been brought on by his treatment for cancer. And of course, recently he attended a royal visit to Italy. For the Church of England, Easter Sunday is usually a moment for the Archbishop of Canterbury to address his congregation and, through the media, the country. But Justin Welby resigned in November after accepting he should have done more to deal with the aftermath of a 1970s child abuse scandal. The Archbishop of York has taken over for now. His sermon concentrated on religious questions and a plea for peace.
We need the peace of Christ in our homes, in our streets, in our world, in Israel and Gaza, in the Ukraine, in Myanmar, in Sudan, in the DRC, in all the places of conflict that convulse our world.
State and church facing their own challenges. The new Archbishop of Canterbury is set to be appointed in the autumn. Tom Simons, BBC News at Windsor Castle.
The Israeli army says that it's dismissed a deputy commander over the killing of 15 Palestinian medics in Gaza last month.